everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I, of course, am just another heavy metal maniac, and today I'm going to be making the video discussing what I have been listening to in the month of March 2025. So, for those of you who may be new here or have not seen my previous iterations of this is a series I started back in November of 2024, and yeah, I feel like the title is fairly self-explanatory. This is just the video where I discuss the albums I have been listening to, as well as some discoveries that I have made, both old and new discoveries, well, old and new albums, I should say. So, yeah. This is, again, fairly self-explanatory, I feel like, so of course, with just like the previous iterations of this series, we're going to start with the albums I have been returning to the most, and for this one, I feel like it's a bit interesting, because usually for albums that I listen to, like, I usually feel like I try to go for, like, a consistent theme each month, and where I feel like I've kind of done that in my previous iterations of this series, this month for me has been a lot more of a mixed bag. I've just been kind of listening to, you know, whatever. I haven't really been confining myself to any specific genre, per se, so yeah, kind of a really mixed bag here. So without further ado, enough my ramblings, let's just get into this little video. So the first album I want to discuss is a Finnish black metal album, and of course my love of Finnish black metal is very well documented on this channel, and this is probably maybe the most famous, most popular Finnish black metal band, possibly. I mean, they're really up there in terms of like Finnish metal bands in general in terms of popularity. But this band is, the band is none other than Impaled Nazarene, and the album I've been returning to the most by them is their sophomore album, Ugra Karma. It took me a long time to come around to this band, because Impaled Nazarene is very interesting, and I'd say very unique when it comes to black metal, even like Finnish black metal, because yes, I'd say they're a black metal band first and foremost, but they incorporate a lot of outside elements. Like there's hints of crust punk and like grindcore and even just like classic heavy metal and speed metal. Like these guys fucking love Motorhead. I don't think that's any real secret. But yeah, so it took me a while to get into this band, and I really at first I really was not big on their whole, because extremely horny, kind of, you know, satanic, again, punky black metal sound. I thought it was just kind of odd, but it did eventually kind of click with me, and I gotta say, I really like this band now, and this album is possibly my favorite. I don't know, because this band, for the most part, is very consistent, but god damn, this album is absolutely amazing. Like, the production on it is, again, I feel like kind of unique for like a black metal album, because again, I feel like the whole thing with these guys initially is that they were kind of they wanted to like very much distance themselves from the whole Finnish, or no, sorry, not Finnish, Norwegian black metal scene. So they kind of went for maybe slightly more polished production. It's not as raw as other black metal albums at the time. And also the bass is very audible, which is also something that was kind of very odd for black metal at the time. And yeah, again, you get that perfect blend of like black metal and, again, kind of that punky, hardcore, grindcore energy, all kind of mixed in together. And this album is absolutely just awesome. Songs like The Horny and The Horned, which I just love that song. It's a great title. Sadhu Satana, you know, Chaos Goat Law. This whole album really is just amazing. I love like the album artwork too. Yeah, overall, this is definitely my most listened to black metal album of this month. And yeah, again, even for like, I love Finnish black metal, and Impaled Nazarene is definitely one of the most unique, like, second wave black metal bands out there. And yeah, overall, I really just love this album. Again, possibly my favorite Impaled Nazarene album. I'll find out, and you guys will find out when I eventually do my Impaled Nazarene ranking, which will come eventually, because I do want to rank this band. But yeah, Ugra Karma, if you've not heard this album, this honestly would be a pretty good place to start for Impaled Nazarene, I feel like. And yeah, overall, I think it's a great album, and you should definitely check it out if you have not yet. So, moving away now from black metal, we're going to discuss some classic heavy metal now, slash kinda glam metal a little bit. I don't know, this band kind of got lumped in with the whole glam metal crowd back in the day, although I kind of disagree with that assessment, honestly. The band is Wasp, and I'm going to be discussing their self-titled album, self-titled debut. Like I said, again, Wasp were kind of lumped in with the whole glam metal scene back in the day, which I do disagree with that sentiment. To me, this band is just like a classic heavy metal band. Yeah, they're dirty and kind of sleazy, and they kind of have some hard rock leaning influences like a lot of glam metal bands, but to me, Wasp is just a flat out heavy metal band, and this is a flat out awesome album. Like, this debut, admittedly, I prefer Headless Children a little bit more to this one, but this is a fantastic album. Dude, I mean, songs like Animal, Fuck Like a Beast, that's just a great opener. I Want to Be Somebody is awesome. The Torture Never Stops, Show No Mercy. And I even like the more ballady track on here, Sleeping in the Fire. I really enjoy that song. I love the production of this album. It's, you know, kind of raw for the time. It's gritty. It's a little bit underdeveloped, but it works. Blackie Lawless's vocals, I think he was just a great vocalist back in the day. Nowadays, I think his voice has definitely aged a little bit, but he was a great vocalist. Like, he kind of had that almost kind of like classic 70s like rock rasp to his voice, like almost kind of like Bon Scott in a way. I feel like this guy probably really loves Bon Scott. Who doesn't love Bon Scott, right? Oh, yeah. But yeah, this album is seriously just awesome. Probably one of the strongest 80s metal debut albums. Again, Headless Children is my favorite Wasp album, but honestly, this and Last Command are not that far behind. I really enjoy this album, and though I'm not really a fan of much after Headless Children by this band, I think this band's early material is absolutely golden. So yeah, Wasp, self-titled album, yeah, most of you watching this have probably heard it. If you have not, you seriously need to change that pronto, because this album is amazing. And the third album I want to discuss is moving away from kind of moving away from classic heavy metal. I'd say, okay, maybe a little bit in the heavy metal realm, but I don't know, it's different. This band is, okay, so the band is Trouble, but the album I'm going to be discussing is Manic Frustration, which obviously is their fifth album, and it is a very different sounding album than the first four albums, because Trouble, obviously, when they started off, they were just a flat-out, heavy, Sabbathy worshipping doom metal band. Definitely some like traditional metal influences, even a little bit like thrash, especially on their first album. But you know, for the most part, they were just a heavy, doomy band, and I absolutely love their first four albums. Four of the greatest metal albums of all time, in my opinion. But I also really love this album, even though it is definitely a stylistic shift in their sound. This is a lot more kind of like 70s rock influence on this album, a lot more psychedelic stuff. Like, kind of stoner metal, a little bit, maybe just like kind of a little bit, because 1992, this is when stoner metal was kind of starting to develop a little bit. Overall, I guess I would kind of classify this as like psychedelic metal, though. But, dude, there's so many great songs on this album, and, you know, admittedly, I do prefer this band's first four albums to this one, but I still love this album. Shh, what's going on, kitty? Sorry, the kitty is begging for attention. I'm busy, I'm filming a video. Can you just wait a second, please? Anyways, back to this album. Some of my favorite Trouble songs, honestly, are on this album. Like Tragedy Man and Mr. White are two of my favorite Trouble songs. I also love Hello Strawberry Skies is awesome. What else? The Memories Garden is really good. The title track is really good. I also really like the closing track, Breathe, which is kind of, again, very much brings in that 60s, 70s psychedelic rock influence, and I think that song is just a really, really cool closer. So yeah, for me, Trouble, Manic Frustration, again, it's not my favorite Trouble album. It was number 5 when I ranked Trouble, but I do still absolutely love this album. So yeah, Manic Frustration by Trouble, it's an amazing album. Getting back to some more like kind of classic heavy metal / kind of power metal now. So the next band I want to discuss is, again, a band that kind of perfectly fits in between like that kind of heavy metal, but also power metal sound, kind of a perfect, you know, blend of the two. Obviously, you know, a U.S. band, which a lot of, you know, U.S. power metal and just traditional heavy metal, there's a lot of overlap between those two styles. But the band I'm going to be discussing for the fourth album is Manila Road, and the album I'm going to be discussing is Crystal Logic. Again, possibly my favorite album by this band, but really I love a lot of Manila Road's back catalog. This band is just a fantastic band overall. But this album, again, the production very raw for the time, but it really kind of enhances the album in a way. And yeah, Manila Road, I mean, obviously they're, you know, again, power metal, heavy metal, kind of hybrid. And every single song on here, I absolutely love that. The title track is amazing. The Necropolis is an awesome song. The Veils of Negative Existence is one of my favorites on here. Yeah, overall, this is just a fantastic album. Mark Shelton, yeah, he's in a bit of a... I mean, I don't think anyone is going to doubt his skills as a guitar player. He's a fantastic guitarist, but he definitely has a bit of an acquired taste when it comes to his vocals, but I've grown to really love his vocals, you know, over time. He's very unique, kind of like... it's like kind of nasally, but I don't know, it really fits with our style. Yeah, and overall, I just really love this band, and Crystal Logic is really just kind of a flawless album. I think every single track on this album is absolutely amazing, and I think, again, I love the production. Again, the very kind of raw, gritty production. It really works for this, like, style, weirdly. It really just kind of works for Manila Road's style as a band. And overall, again, I just really love this album. Been listening to it a lot, and, like, dude, the solo to Necropolis is, like, one of my favorite guitar solos ever. Oh my god, it's amazing. yeah, I could go on and on about how much I love this band, but I think I'm gonna move on because I don't want this video to get too long. But yeah, Manila Road, Crystal Logic. If you've not heard this and you're a fan of, I'd say Surf Uncle is definitely the closest comparison. Like Surf Uncle and Manila Road definitely get brought up together a lot. Like Riot, Sabotage. If you're just like US power metal, check this out. It is a must listen. And the final album I want to discuss for this segment is probably the heaviest album of the albums I've been listening to, at least, or the albums I've been returning to the most. And so the band is Vehemence, and I'm going to be discussing their third album, Helping the World to See. So Vehemence are an American melodic death metal band, but they are a brutal melodic death metal band. Like they're kind of like the American Intestine Ballism. Definitely that's probably the closest comparison you can make, where it's very melodic, but they are very heavy at the same time. Like it's not like the super pretty like Gothenburg melodeath. Like it is brutal, but again, you still have all those great melodic sections. And Helping the World to See, even though it's not my favorite Vehemence album, I think God Was Created is a stronger effort. I do still really like this album. And again, the production is, again, a little bit raw. Maybe if I had one little criticism of this album, it's that the snare is kind of a bit annoying, honestly, and it doesn't really fit with the rest of the album. But overall, I really enjoy this album just for the songs. Like, Kill for God was the first Vehemence song I heard, and that's still one of my favorite Vehemence songs. Spirit of the Soldier is a really good song. You Don't Have to Be Afraid Anymore, By Your Bedside. The closing track, Her Beautiful Eyes, which is honestly probably the most death metal-y song on here. Like, that's not even, like, that melodic. That's just kind of like a flat-out, brutal death metal song. And, but yeah, overall, I really enjoy this album. Again, God Was Created, I think, was a stronger effort, but Helping the World to See, I just really like this album. I love the melodies, just really, really well-written melodies, and just overall really good songwriting. The vocals in this album, just, you know, super low guttural vocals, and again, it's melodic, but it's very brutal at the same time, which is just something I definitely appreciate. So yeah, Vehemence, if you've not heard this and you're a fan of definitely Intestine Ballism, maybe like some Carcass, maybe a little bit of At the Gates too, check us out. It's definitely a worthwhile listen. Alright, now that we have gotten the albums I've been listening to or returning to the most out of the way, now we discuss 5 discoveries that I have made, and all these albums I think are pretty damn good. So yeah, the first album I want to discuss is a black metal album, very raw black metal album, but a great black metal album. So this band is called Alessia. I'm still a bit hesitant on the name. This is a Mexican metal band, which I realize I talk about a lot of Mexican bands in these videos of mine, but dude, Mexico has such an underrated metal scene, and this to me is just further proof of that. But the album is called, and forgive me because the album is Chants de un Ligni Sangalante. Again, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish, so I probably absolutely butchered that. But this album is absolutely awesome. This released on March 14th, I believe. Yes, March 14th, 2025. And this album is amazing, frankly. Like, it is kind of this very epic, it's almost kind of like a journey. Like, you really get a sense of, you know, the whole, again, it's very raw kind of black metal, but it's just got a great atmosphere. They bring in a ton of other elements, like there's like acoustic elements and folk elements. I just think for a debut album, the songs are just incredibly well written. And again, I love the atmosphere on this album. It's very dark, it's very moody, it's kind of gothic almost in some spots. And again, this album kind of takes you on like a bit of a journey. Like, it kind of feels like you're traveling, like you guys, obviously I can't see the album cover right now. Well, I can, I'm on the archives, but you guys are looking at the album cover right now. It's probably, I don't know, up here somewhere. Yeah, that album cover, you really get a sense of just, you know, kind of traveling on this winding road en route to a castle in the dark of night in the canyons of Mexico. I just love the vibe and the atmosphere on this album. And again, actually, I believe all these songs are in Spanish, or French, sorry, even though Spanish from Mexico, which is kind of interesting. So all the song titles are in French, which I'm not going to try to pronounce those because I really don't know. I don't speak French at all. So, but yeah, every single song on here is awesome. This album is a bit lengthy. It is over an hour long, but it doesn't like drag itself out too long. It doesn't like lull its energy at any point in time. It keeps my interest throughout the whole thing. I'll have links to all these albums in the description below if you want to check them out. And I definitely recommend you check this one out. If you want to hear some really great underground, like, black metal, check this out. I think it's definitely a very much worth your time. Alright, a bit more underground black metal, but although this time we're going to the other side of the world, we're going to Russia, of all places. And this is a lone full-length album from this band. The band is, forgive me, I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of this band, but the band is Histonend. I probably absolutely butchered that, but this is a Russian black metal band, and this is so far their lone full-length album entitled 2. It's called 2 because they had an earlier demo that was just called 1, so this is 2. But overall, I really, really like this album. It's, again, very raw, but very, very atmospheric. I just really love the vibe and the atmosphere of this album. Like, it kind of feels like you're just wandering through a forest, and you really feel that sense. Like, it feels very natural, and it feels like you are in nature while listening to this album. And it's got kind of that darkness and that moodiness that I really love in this style. A lot of comparisons that I would make to like Burzum and maybe even like Drutk. Not Drutk, they don't really necessarily have a lot of folk elements like Drutk does, but like the kind of straight up black metal sections and the atmosphere, I think, is very comparable to Drutk in this case. And yeah, like I Shall Become, stuff like that. So if you like any of those bands, definitely check this out. You can buy this album on Bandcamp for like fairly cheap, like it was like I did buy it. It's pennies. So yeah, definitely go out, support these guys. And yeah, this album I think is honestly pretty damn killer. This album came out in 2013. According to the archives, they are still active, but yeah, it's been a while. They've been kind of like laying dormant since this album, it seems. So hopefully, maybe they'll get to making another album. But yeah, who knows? But yeah, Histonend, this is an awesome album. I definitely recommend that you check it. Oh, sorry. I definitely recommend that you check it out if you like atmospheric and kind of ambient black metal. The next album I'm going to be discussing, we're moving away from black metal now. This is the oldest album on this list, released in 1986, if I recall correctly. This album is a self-titled album, and the band is Lords of the Crimson Alliance, and as I said, this is their self-titled album. Lone full-length album by this American heavy metal / power metal band. I could not find much information on this band. Like, there really isn't anything about this band, like, online. This band just kind of seems to be like one of those 80s metal bands that just kind of popped up, put out an album, and then disappeared immediately after. But this album is really killer. The vocals, a bit of an acquired taste again. It took a minute for me to get kind of used to them because they're kind of nasally, kind of high pitched. I believe there's actually 2 different vocals on here, but one of them is kind of nasally, kind of high pitched. But yeah, no, this album is a lot of fun. Like, it's got just great riffs. The drum work on this album is really good. It's catchy, it's fun, it's energetic, and it's epic at the same time. Like, it's very fantasy oriented. Definitely a lot of comparisons I'd make to like Manila Road and like other bands like that. Survungal, not as doomy as Survungal, but it's definitely kind of that epic heavy metal, power metal vibe is all over this album. And overall, I really enjoyed this album. Again, like, I couldn't find like any information about this band online, so who knows. But yeah, this is their lone full-length album, and for a one and done effort, I think it is a lot of fun and it's pretty killer. So I will admit, maybe one complaint, the pacing is a little bit off because they do have like kind of a spoken word at the beginning of every song, which is a little bit annoying, but that's not enough to ruin the album for me. But yeah, again, if you're a fan of Manila Road, Survungal, I'd say like early Sabotage, bands like that, check this out. It is, again, it's a lot of fun, and it's just kind of a really cool US power metal, heavy metal album. Alright, and the 4th album I'm going to be discussing for albums I have discovered, it is the newest album on this list, released only 2 days ago as of when I am recording this video, and it is another debut album. The band is Serpent Rider, and this is their debut album, The Ichor of Chimera. Yeah, this, like I said, this is a debut album by this band, and again, for a debut, this is a lot of fun. I really dig this album. This is, much like Lords of the Crimson Alliance, this is heavy metal / kind of power metal / definitely doomier than Lords of the Crimson Alliance. It's definitely doomier. Again, if pretty much just like the album I discussed before this one, if you like Manila Road and Survungal, you're gonna really dig this album. There's a female vocalist on this album, and she does a fantastic job, frankly. Dude, the riffs on this album are absolutely killer. The production, a little bit more modern, but it's got that old school charm to it still. It's just heavy, it's power metal-y, heavy metal, doom metal, combined into one. And this is just an absolutely awesome album, and I look forward to seeing what else this band does in the future, because, goddamn, for a debut album, again, this is a lot of fun to listen to. I highly recommend this album. Again, if you like Manila Road and Survungal and just pretty much any bands that sound like those, check this out. This is definitely worth your time. They did release a couple, like, I believe one EP prior to this, which got some attention on, like, the archives from what I've read, but, yeah, no, The Ichor of Chimera, I think this is a really fun album, and again, I really look forward to seeing what this band does in the future. Serpent Rider, check out this band. I think they're really killer. And the final album I'm going to be discussing for this video, we're going to be going back to some death metal, and this is a one-and-done death metal band from 2012, or album 2012, sorry. Apparently this band is still active, but they haven't released an album. They released a couple EPs after this, but this is their lone full length so far. The band is Sun Tzu with their self-titled album. Yeah, so this is an Australian death metal band, and even though this album and this band is named after the Chinese, general, this band is all about Japan, which you can probably tell from looking at the album cover and stuff. And yeah, this is just Japanese mythology focused death metal. Very big Nile vibes all over this album. It's not as brutal or as technical as Nile, but the Nile energy is still here, and again, the whole kind of focusing on the mythology of one certain place is definitely really adds to that. I really enjoy the atmosphere in this album. I enjoy all the riffs. It's groovy, it's brutal, but it's catchy. And again, they bring in those kind of Japanese kind of percussion and the Japanese folk instrumentation. Overall, I think this is a really awesome album. And yeah, again, this band is still active, and they released a couple EPs after this, but they haven't put out another full length. So hopefully they'll get around to playing another full length soon, because I really enjoy this one. This is a lot of fun. So again, if you like stuff like I would say Nile is definitely a great comparison. Maybe some Morbid Angel and Hate Eternal too. I think those are kind of fair comparisons. Definitely check this out. This is a lot of fun. Highly recommend that you check it out. Australian death metal band Sun Tzu, all about Japanese mythology, named after a Chinese general who wrote The Art of War. Boy, talk about an international band, eh? And well, that finally concludes this video of mine discussing the albums I have been listening to. So, real quick, before I do my usual, outro thing, the giveaway that I'm doing for 750 subscribers is still up, but there's only 2 days left for you to enter. If you want to enter, just go back and watch that video, leave a comment, and you'll be entered into the giveaway. This is pretty much your last chance to enter, because the draw is on April 1st, so you have 2 days left to, finally get in there and do it. So, yeah, quickly go do that if you have not. Now, anyways, with that out of the way, this finally concludes the albums I have been listening to in the month of March 2025. Look forward to doing this again next month. Yeah, I'll do that next month. And, anyways, if you made it to the end of this video, you are awesome, and I appreciate you. Do consider leaving a like if you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what are some discoveries that you have made this month. I would love to read your comments. Leave your comments down in the comment section, where you would, of course, put your comments, because where else are you going to put your comments? Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways. Yeah. So yeah, if you are not subscribed, do consider subscribing, because I do have a lot more content coming your way. And that about does it. I am just another Heavy Metal Maniac. I'll see you all sometime in the future. In the meantime, all of you take care and have a fantastic day. So long.